Hello students, welcome once again. Hope all are fine. Today is the last session of our understanding of plastic design. After that, we will move towards our connection design.
In this section, we will go for an understanding of classification of sections. Before going for an understanding of classification of sections, an understanding of buckling as well as the modified stress strain graph is required. In our last but second lecture, we have gone for an understanding of buckling and bending, out of which we are subdividing this buckling failure into two parts. One is in global buckling and one is in local buckling. In global buckling, member as a whole gets buckled. Say for example, I am having a member of length L. When it is subjected to a compression force, then it shows a buckling like this. This is known as a global buckling. While in local buckling, elements of cross sections get buckled. Here, for example, I sections, when it is subjected to a compressive load, the web may buckle like this or a flange may buckle like this. Such type of failure is known as local buckling. If one plate buckles, entire member gets failed, or we can say that before entire cross section reaches its intended stress limit, member fails immaturely or prematurely because of local buckling. Though it is a local phenomenon, it does reduce overall global capacity of the section. It is intended that section should not show the local buckling failure before overall global buckling gets triggered. We have certain limit states defined in our design code, that is IS 800-2007. Please refer clause number 3.7.2 located on page number 17 and table number 2 located on page number 18. Here we can say that our web element is braced at 2 points and hence it can be defined as stiffened element. While flange is braced at 1 point only, hence it is known as unstiffened element. It can be said that unstiffened elements are more likely to have a local buckling. This is a typical stress strain curve of mild steel. The mild steel section, when subjected to a tensile force, the stress varies linearly with respect to strain up to a certain point that is known as yard limit. Again, also represented by sigma y. Below this yard limit, the behavior of the curve is non-linear. The topmost part of the curve is known as ultimate strength of the material. The curve should go like this in a vertical upward direction, since the area of the sections get reduced due to the necking of a material, as you might have seen in your MOS experiment. But since we are considering the original area of the cross section, our curve moves downward. Our code has suggested some modification since it is very difficult to use this graph in our design procedure. The first suggested graph was like this, in which the linear portion was made vertical and non-linear portion of the graph was made horizontal. The graph shows a fully plastic behavior. It means graph shows no strain until sigma y is attended, that is yield strength of the material, and after that a plastic deformation is observed. Such a graph resembles like a concrete behavior, in which The concrete shows no or a very little strain in its initial phase, and after attaining the yield strength, it shows a failure or in some plastic deformation. So, such a graph was not adopted for our steel design. Second suggested graph was like this, in which the initial linear phase was kept as it is, and after that the non-linear portion of the graph is constructed by connecting its sigma y and sigma ultimate point like this. The graph is known as linearly elastic and linearly plastic. The demerit of the graph is that we are not having any reserve strength, hence our ductility criteria is not satisfied in this graph. Therefore, this graph was also not adopted. Third suggested graph was like this, in which the initial portion, that is a linear portion of the graph, was kept as it is, while the non-linear portion of the graph was made horizontal. The graph shows the linear elastic behavior whereas fully plastic behavior in a plastic zone. Here we get an advantage of reserve strength of the material, hence we can use our ductility property to its best. After getting an understanding of local buckling, global buckling and modified stress strain curve, we will go for our core subject understanding, core topic understanding, that is classification of the section. For that, we will consider a beam of length L subjected to a uniformly distributed load of intensity W kN per meter. This is a typical bending moment diagram having a maximum intensity of WL square by 8. This is a modified stress strain graph just we have derived previously. This is the longitudinal cross section of the beam. We will just focus on the center point of this beam. That's why I have written it's L by 2 and L by 2. This is a typical cross section of our beam, in which neutral axis and equal area line are merged. On loading the beam, it may happen before reaching the yield limit, the sections get failed due to a local buckling. It may happen your flange may buckle like this or your web may buckle like this. In such condition, your stress in the extreme fiber will be less than your yield stress. Such a section is identified as a slender cross section in our code, and it is considered as a class 4 section. If your sections doesn't buckle up till your extreme fibers attains its yield stress limit, then such a section is classified as a compact section and it is identified as a class 3 section. Here the stress value is sigma y, and there is a triggering or initiation of formation of yielding just in the extreme fibers. A condition may arise that even after attaining the yield stress limit in your extreme fibers, your section doesn't show any local buckling. But with a successive loading, it may happen that after attaining a yield limit of this much layers of your sections, it may happen that local buckling gets triggered. Maybe a flange buckling or maybe a web buckling. Maybe somewhere around this. We are having two core. One is an plastic core and one is an elastic core. These two triangles are an elastic curve and this is a plastic core. Such a sections are classified as a semi-compact section and it is identified as a class 2 section. Lastly, the section does not show any local buckling before global buckling is triggered. Such a section is classified as class 1 sections and it is identified as a plastic cross section. If we represent the behavior of these compact and plastic cross sections on our longitudinal axis, it can be said that when the sections are semi-complete. This much core shows a plastic behavior and the core remaining shows an elastic behavior. When the section attains the plastic stage, our entire sections get plasticized. Our entire sections get plasticized and then develops an internal hinge. That develops an internal hinge in our member length. Since we are having three hinges, two at support and one at mid-span of the section, our sections becomes unstable and there is a failure mechanisms gets triggered. This is known as mechanism in the beam. We are having three hinges. One is here, and one is at the center. The sections get rotated or unstable due to a mechanism. It's a plastic mechanism. Same is explained in our code in clause number 7.2.1, page number 17, as well as same is tabulated in table number 2, page number 18. You can go through the explanations explained in the code.
With this, we end up our understanding of plastic design. From now onwards, we will go for an connection design and member design. A steel structure is assembled by connecting different members such as beams, columns, tension members, etc. at their ends. Many members in steel structures are made up of different components such as angles, plates, channels, I section, etc. These different components has to be connected by a means of fastenings like bolts or rivets or welds. Connections between different members of steel structure facilitates the flow of forces and the moments from one member to another and to the foundation level. In the next portion, we will go for an bolted connection design. Here the figure shows the bolt and its configuration. Here unthreaded portion of bolt is known as shank length and the threaded portion is known as the threaded length. The head of the bolt is near about 1.65 times the diameter of bolt and the thickness of head of bolt is near about 0.65% of the diameter of bolt. Here let's see how the bolts are represented in the form of numbers. Say for example, we want to discuss about the property of the bolt of class 4.6. The number 4 indicates 1/100th of the nominal ultimate tensile strength in Newton per mm square. The number 6 in 4.6 figure indicates the ratio of the yield stress to the ultimate stress, expressed as the percentage. For example, 4.6 grade of bolt means then ultimate tensile strength Fu will be equals to 4 into 100, that is 400 Newton per mm square, and yield strength is 60% of the ultimate strength. Therefore yield strength is equals to Fi will be equals to 0.6 into 400 gives 240 Newton per mm square. Hence 240 Newton per mm square will be the yield strength and 400 Newton per mm square will be the ultimate tensile strength of the bolt of grade 4.6. Now let's discuss about the types of bolt. Black bolt. They are also known as ordinary or rough or unfinished or a common bolt. Such bolts are not recommended for the connections subjected to an impact load, vibration or fatigue type of load. Bolts are forged from low carbon steel and are made from circular rods which permits the large tolerance. These bolts are confining to IS 1363-2002. Next type of bolt is a turned bolt. It is similar to a black bolt, but only difference is that the sunk of these bolts is formed with an hexagonal rod. Bolts has high shear and bearing resistance as compared to a black bolt. These bolts are absolute nowadays, hence we will not talk much about this in our lecture. Ribbed bolt. These are also called a flatted bolt, or a head of bolt is like a rivet head. Bolts have more resistance to vibration as compared to an ordinary bolts. Sunk core longitudinal rib projects, making the diameter of a sunk more than the diameter of hole, ensures a tight fit. Another type of bolt is the high strength friction grip HSFG type of bolt. They are made from the bars of medium carbon steel. High strength is achieved through quenching and tempering process or by adding an alloy to the steel. High strength bolts have replaced rivets and are being used in structure such as high-rise buildings, bridges, machines, etc. The bolts are conforming to the IS 3757 1972 and IS 4000 1967. Our study in this semester will be limited to the use of black bolt and HSFG bolt. Now let's have a look towards the advantages of high strength friction grip bolts over a black bolt or a rivet. This provides a rigid joint. There is no slippage between the element connected. Large tensile stresses are developed in bolts, which in turn provide a large clamping force to the elements connected. High frictional resistance is developed, providing a high static and normal force on the plate. Because of clamping action, load is transmitted by friction only, and bolts are not subjected to a shear and bearing. The frictional resistance is effective outside the hole, and therefore lesser load is transmitted through the net section. Thus, the possibility of failure at the net section is minimized. There are no stress concentrations in the holes. Therefore, the fatigue strength is more. The tension in the bolt is uniform. Also, the bolts are tensioned up to the proof load, hence the nuts are prevented from loosening. For same strength, lesser numbers of bolts are required as compared to the rivets, which brings overall economy. Unlike riveted joints, few persons are required for making the connection. No heating is required and no danger to tossing of bolt. Thus, the safety of workers is enhanced. Deformation is minimized. Due to the small number of bolts, the gusset plate size are reduced. Now, let's take a look on the advantage and disadvantages of the bolt connection over welded and riveted connection. The advantages are: the connections are noiseless and quickly fabricated. Use of unskilled laborers and simple tools are required. We can go for a fast progress of work. It is very easy to dismantle and reuse the material. It accommodates minor discrepancies in dimensions. The connections supports loads as soon as the bolts are tightened. Unlike riveted bolts, few persons are required for making the connection. Deformation is minimized due to non-involvement of heating process. Again, having a look towards the disadvantages, There is a slip of joint in black bolted connections when load is applied. If bolted connection becomes loose, their strength reduces considerably. When large forces are to be resisted, the space required for joint is extensive. Special locking devices are required in situations involving fluctuating loads. Significant fabrication efforts to produce the bolt holes and associated plates or cleats. Connections may not be as rigid as welded connection even with an HSFG bolt. With this, we conclude our lecture. In the next lecture, we will go for a type of connections, a type of failures in bolts and plates, and we will go for some numericals. Thank you.